but we make the schedule.
It's not 7.
Just because it said we start at
It's not
7,
7.
it doesn't mean we have.
It's not 7.
We make the schedule. It's our thing. You do what you want. You know, you're supposed to start early anyway to let the audience build up. Hold on, button. All right, so I need to share. I think it's appropriate that as we go to do our first show ever, that our kid Peter Pan's.
What, to start the show off?
Our first ever show talking about what we're about to talk about. All right,
That's
share.
potty training for you.
Share. Hold on, we got on a friend's timeline.
Why did I get to do this?
Seriously?
Seriously.
Hold on. Live P. All right. There's that one.
So not okay.
Ooh, someone else is watching.
Who's watching?
I don't know. All right, let's do share on your timeline. Join us live to discuss running a home. Oh, there, I quit watching. Based.
Sorry, it's not 3-0 to go.
Shh, no. Nobody knows about all that. We're not affiliated.
Okay.
That's Hank. Join us live to discuss running a home-based business.
That hair's undeniable.
We'll talk about that in a minute. You're off script.
Undeniable.
With children.
Can I do this?
No, don't do that right now.
Why not?
I'm trying to focus. All right, so there's that. Hold on. Share. What are you laughing at? It's not funny. Share our friends page.
You're watching the delayed version of me laughing.
What'd you do to my hair? Oh my gosh, it's sticking way up the back.
Here.
Oh. You're killing me right now.
Sorry.
Join us live to discuss running a business with children. And post. All right, now there's a good chance that nobody will tune in for our first ever episode because we're not that interesting.
No.
Okay, so we talked about the potty shorts.
Potty shorts?
Well, she peed the bed. The backdrop, or she peed her pants. Right? The backdrop is
ever changing.
Ever changing, as you can see, I was told to tear it down because, well, as you can see, pictures are coming soon. So the use of it's for the other studio. That's part of that. So, schedule. There's not really going to be a schedule for our highlights. We're just going to kind of do them on Sundays whenever we feel appropriate, and we'll go from there.
Whenever the kid's not peeing her pants.
Right. Right. So, the idea behind sharing is obviously we want to get the word out about our wedding business, and it's going to take time to build it up to get any kind of audience because it's such a niche market. So, the thought is just to share things as they happen based on other people's weddings. There's that one. Stages of hair, you can see that, look at where I'm at now. We're somewhere between George Michael and David Hasselhoff versus, yeah. Let us know if you're here, folks, to see people are starting to tune in. Yeah, so it's time to cut the hair. I did put the poll up, and right now the poll is starting to finally win. So I'm cutting the hair probably tomorrow. So anyway, there's, the topic of today is the difference between a small business and a home-based business. When you have a small business, sometimes it's difficult to manage things in regards to maintaining your home life. Oh, Steve, there's Steve. Hey, look at Moon Man's on. All right, so the difference between a small business and a medium business, once you start getting employees, the way I consider it is small business is just mom and pop, just a couple of us and maybe an employer or two. But as soon as you start hiring employees, that's when I consider it to be a medium business, right? What's your take on that?
I think an in-home based business is when it's just versus a small business is you can have an employee or two.
Okay.
It'll still be a small business.
So a home, then small, then medium is what you say. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So For those of you starting to tune in, go ahead and share this. It's just going to be our thoughts dealing with the difference between running a home-based business and a small business, and how do you do that. The first question that you have to ask yourself is, do we need an office?
Yes.
Okay, and we're a DJ company. Our focus is on, we do a lot of weekend gigs, so it's like trying to manage the schedules with the kids. But the question is, do you need an office? And really it comes down to, do you need a space that is your own to be able to work? As far as when people come, when the kids, when you're working inside of a home environment, well, I'll let you talk to this. Why don't you tell us about your experiences with Mary Kay and with his and hers?
It's not.
No, I mean,
Frozen.
Part of the thing is going to be, right, you're going to have to talk during our show. We can't just be me talking all the time. People get tired of me talking all the time.
Yes, they do.
All right. So what is your experience in terms of managing work with children in the house?
I think the one major thing that I learned was you can try and establish a schedule, but because of life and because of if your children are involved in any events or anything else out there, there's a lot of times where things will pop up. Even with as much as you try to create a schedule or get your kids on a routine or in a schedule, there are things that are going to pop up that either they're going to forget about, or you're going to forget about, or your potty training. And you just kind of sometimes have to go with the flow, and you find those pockets of time which allow you to get some work in. So if you are a home-based business and you have young children, or you have children who are actively involved in the community or in their schools, what you're going to find is you'll probably have to work within those 10 to 15-minute pockets of time that you'll notice will develop. We have 3 that are in school and 1 that is home. So the one that is home, when she's down for nap, that allows me time to work. But that could go sideways very easily. So you learn that you kind of have to be flexible, and you have to set things in priority as far as what has to be done today versus what can go on the calendar tomorrow. And the things that have to be done today are non-negotiable, and they go into either that pocket of time, that nap time, or that time in the evening when you have to give up maybe some of your spouse time just to get that one thing done. If there's something that's non-negotiable that has to get done, you get it done. You just have to find that pocket of time that it fits into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, talk to them, not me. This is new to you, right? Okay.
Yeah,
this is our show.
I don't like being on screen.
All right, this is our show. All right, you gotta adjust to the expectations. Let's do it this way. I'm just gonna interview you, okay? Because I talk too much.
Speaking of, hello.
She's wearing underwear.
Yes, she is.
All right, what does being productive mean to you?
That's a bad question.
Why?
Well, because there's business productive, and then there's house productive, and then there's dealing with child productive, and in a mom's world or in a single dad's world, being productive can be many different things. Being productive involves all of that. It's not just about your business, but it's also about your family life. It's about what's going on with your kids. It's about getting them to and from things. It's about, it's about dinner, breakfast, lunch, all of that stuff. So I don't think it's a question of being productive. I think it's a question of being on purpose and being on task.
How do you feel when I walk in the house, when I come home from day job work, and I and I look around the house and I say to you, what did you do today?
I don't know that that's appropriate for me to say on this show.
No, but there's times when I have a certain expectation level of things that I want you to get done.
Honey, I love you, but you have an expectation level every time you come home. And the audible sigh of you walking in and something's not done, because you have your own thing that you're doing at work.
Right.
And your own thing that you're doing at work is all adult. There's no interjection or interference from your child pulling at you for this, or crying over this, or falling off of this, or any of that, or the phone call from the school, or the having to run something down to the school, or being the taxi mom who gets in the car and goes and picks up this kid, and then goes and picks up this kid, and then goes and drops off this kid, and then goes and picks up this kid.
Oh, I get all that.
Do you?
But what? All right. So the problem with a business like ours is we are accountable to ourselves.
Yes.
And to each other.
That's what I said. If you have things that have to be done, must get done, no.
We're live right now.
No.
Okay? We are live right now. Okay? All right.
Stop it. If there are things that have to be done that day, you have time-sensitive stuff. Time-sensitive stuff unfortunately comes in over your personal time. If you're a single parent, you have to tend to your kids and make sure that they're settled and that everything that they need is done. If you're not a single parent and you have a spouse or you have a significant other, you guys can kind of balance each other out. But you have to make sure that your time-sensitive stuff is done and done before it's due, basically. Other than that, other stuff can be pushed to the next day, but it's kind of like looking at, I have a stack of dishes in the kitchen I need to do, but my stack of dishes can be done in the middle of the night, and it's not a big deal, but me getting back to somebody or me getting an email to somebody or me checking in on something, the time-sensitive stuff is the stuff you really, really, really have to tend to first. Then the dishes.
All right, well.
The dishes.
Well, when it comes to the kids, though.
The dishes.
I do the dishes. I run the dishwasher. All right, so what is the difference? I see Gretchen's watching now. She ought to get a kick out of this. What's the difference between being productive and being engaging when it comes to the household and to your kids? What's the difference between being productive and being engaging?
I'm kind of curious as to what you think that means.
No,
this isn't you interviewing me. I think we need to come in.
No. Together. I know, and I will. I want to hear you first. I talk too much. Everybody knows I talk too much. You go ahead and answer first. What's the difference between being productive and being engaging?
In regards to your business or the kids or the house or what?
Both. Or all the above.
Wow. I guess like what I said before, you have to hit the time-sensitive stuff.
Okay, but especially when all right.
You have something in your brain, so you need to state that because I think that you and I are kind of...
We're in a different place, right?
Yeah.
We're in a different place because I do less with the children.
Yes.
You are in the soup, as we like to say.
Yes.
Okay, so
in the tornado.
You're in a 24-hour, 4-kid tornado. Okay, and as a result, you are constantly managing the household. But I have certain expectations of you from a business standpoint. Of I need you to get this, and this done, and then I'll come home, and you may or may not have gotten all that done.
Correct.
But at the same time, you've been very productive around the household, but it doesn't necessarily reflect on our business. In my brain. But in reality, it does because it helps to manage everything else that's outside the business that's part of our life.
That is because as a parent, you are on duty. You are working 24/7, no matter what.
As a mom, let's be more specific.
No, I'm not going to say as a mom because there are some dads out there, especially if they are a single dad, but there are also some dads out there who are parenting 24/7.
I will turn myself in.
Yeah,
I will turn myself in. It's not that I don't parent 24/7. I just sometimes I parent from a chair. so and part of that is because as a fatherhood role, and again, I'm being stereotypical, but I am stereotypical in a lot of categories. Mm-hmm. I look to you to handle a lot of the stuff when it comes to kid stuff, right? I mean, it's just the way we are programmed.
No, it's the way you're programmed. That's something we've been working on breaking you of your lid broke. The women's role and the man's role, and the thing is when you get married, it becomes a joint role, and you kind of have to. If I'm slacking in one category, you got to pick up the slack, and if you're slacking in one category, I got to pick it up. But that's what you do in order to make something work, in order to make your household work, in order to make your business work. If you're doing your business with, it sounds really bad. If you're running the business with your husband or your significant other, you kind of have to balance each other out because you know what will make the house run efficiently. You know what will make your business run efficiently. And if one of you is slacking in that area, you can't just continually call that person out. You kind of have to pick up the slack where they're slacking off and then, sit down and have a discussion and say, hey, this is kind of wearing me out and I need your help here. Because the thing is if they're running a different end of it, if they're running an end in the house that they're not contributing to in the business that you think they should be doing in the business, they might be overwhelmed in the house. Versus if you're running a lot of stuff in the business and they think you're slacking in the house, they might be overwhelmed in the business. So the key thing is the communication and making sure that you're not hiding from your significant other what they need to be doing in order to support the house and the business to make them both move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're frozen again.
We're not frozen. We're still alive. All right. So, you had a note here about the season of a child's life. What is that? What is that? What does that mean? Explain that to me. Seasons of life when it comes to the children.
As they get older, they are less. Well, I would say as they get older, they're less needy, but I think it depends upon the child.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have our oldest who is 16, who's independent, but when it comes to certain things, she might be a little bit more needy than our 11-year-old who's independent, who in a different area might be a little bit more needy. And then we have our 9-year-old. You know, it depends upon where they're at. And the 2.5-year-old will scream across the house that she needs me for something random, but that's what you get when you have toddlers. You know, they're still in that learning to be. My husband does that.
I did that today.
We're still in that learning to, you know, create independence thing. But your children will go through stages of life where they will either need you 75% of the time and not need you 25% of the time, or not need you 25% of the time and then need you 75% of the time. And what you'll notice is as your children get older, your older children, where you'll start to get a little flustered and you'll yearn for that next child until you stop and think about everything that limited you from having an adult life, is they don't need you for certain things. And that's a great thing. When you have taught them and you've guided them in a way that they are independent enough that they can actually find the answers on their own and they can progress forward in their life, you're doing your job as a parent. But when they're constantly coming at you, it's draining. So that's where you have to kind of hit tag and high five your partner and get help.
Is it okay to not get things done?
Yes.
As
long as it is not time sensitive. That's my big thing. If it's time sensitive has to be done. But if it's the laundry, no, laundry can hold till tomorrow. Dishes can hold till tomorrow. You know, some things around the house that aren't going to throw the organization you have for you and your children and your husband or your significant other into a tizzy the next day, those things can hold off. But if it's business related, where it is time sensitive, it has to be done. If it's home related, that's time sensitive in regards to something with your kids for school, has to be done. That's what you have to gauge it on. Is it time sensitive, or is it something that if it is done tomorrow, it still functions fine?
You said that this is a work in progress and it requires patience.
Everything's a work in progress. You're a work in progress. You require a lot of patience.
I'm a completed sculpture. Are you kidding me? What?
I believe anybody who's watching this right now would beg to differ.
What is patience? I don't even know what patience is. I have no patience.
No.
Okay. And it's not just that. It's not just with the kids. It's with anything, right? I mean, half the reason, we talked about me beaming this past week. I put the Kevin Love article up, and I told people that I suffer from total anxiety. Like every time I go to do a show or anything, whether it be a wedding or a game day or whatever, I am a nervous wreck until it's all done. Okay. And that's part of that is because I have no patience. I want to just look at Gretchen laughing today. Seriously, really? Hey, at least we got some viewers. Some viewers now, so we could have a dialogue, folks. If you got comments, got questions, want to contribute, please feel free. It's an interactive show. And again, we're going to start doing this after every wedding weekend that we do. We're going to start doing his and hers highlights. So the goal of the show will be simply to just tell you what is it that we experienced over the course of the weekend that was fun in our business and engaging things for brides and that sort of thing. But
or tips or whatever.
Little tips, things that work, things that didn't work, all that kind of stuff. So most of it's going to be wedding focused. But today's little pilot show is more about running a home-based business, okay? It's a work in progress. It requires patience. Okay, well, what is patience? It's just, I don't...
Patience is counting to 10 and still breathing.
The thing is, if the problem with me, I can't believe I'm going to say this out in public, all right? The problem with me is I think everything needs to be done now.
Yeah, you do.
So, for example, the dishes, they need done now. The laundry, it needs done now. Getting the studio ready while my mom and dad are still here. Having dinner.
Your kids are playing
a game at the table. I got to get the studio ready now. Okay. See this right here? Pictures coming soon. have been coming soon now for about 2 years. Okay.
I have them.
There's a big thing right here. I have my big Cavs flag up here from the other show that I do, right? And she made me take it down because she didn't want it as a backdrop for this. Okay?
This is not Cavs related. Sorry.
I understand that, but the point is, the idea is, I am in the mindset of everything needs done right now, and having you as my business partner and as my spouse, it's extraordinarily difficult for us to find that middle ground, which is.
Why is that? Let me interview you for a while. Why is that, dear?
Why is that?
Why is that?
Because I think that you should just do everything the way that I want it done. I mean,
not gonna happen.
For lack of a better description. All right, so we got to move on. I don't want to incriminate myself anymore. But the point is, having that patience, especially when it comes to kids, it leads us to the next topic, which is involving your kids in your business. Okay, there's a lot of times over the last, 10, 15, well, since Jillian's been born, we have our kids do stuff with us. When I'm DJing, when I'm out and about, when I'm working events, when I'm working game day, when I'm working the Grace Rays, when I'm out working at private shows, when I'm doing weddings, we incorporate our kids into the business functions. For example, when she goes to do uplighting up in Cleveland or wherever, she a lot of times now will, especially if it's just an uplighting show, she'll take a kid or two with her, and we'll show them. All right, well, this is how you place the lights. This is where you place the lights. This is how you set the colors. And the different kids, wow, hello, camera just moved.
My bad.
The different kids will respond differently to the tasks that they are assigned. But for us, I got gas from those potatoes.
Nice.
No, for us, it's corned beef. We just had our St. Patty's Day dinner today because we were busy all day yesterday. For us, it's all about incorporating the kids into work and letting them know this is what we do to make money. This is work. This is, part of the things that you can learn and you can help us as a family to make money. So we're real big proponents of allowing our kids to be a part of that and that process. Oh, look there's Uncle Ken just joined. Hey, Uncle Ken. So the point is it's important for us to include them in that process and to allow them to understand that mommy and daddy are out making money, so that when we're gone on the weekends and we're missing their events occasionally, and trying to balance that schedule, they understand that we're not just out horsing around, we're out helping to make money and support the family and keep the house going.
Well, missing weekends is hard, especially missing an all-day Saturday, because there are times in our business where we are gone from, I think the earliest before we were gone was like 11 in the morning till 2 in the morning Sunday morning because of the business. But that they need to understand.
You guys keep going, keep rolling tape. There's a potty training happening, so she's looking right at us right now. Keep going.
It's important for them to understand why we're gone, and for them to understand our heart for our business, basically, because we don't do weddings just to do weddings. We don't go and put lights out just to toss a light here or toss a light there. We don't go to DJ just to put a couple songs on so people are out there and there's music in the background. We go because
we want to play.
We want to play because weddings are a very, very important day in your life, and our goal is to take the stress out of that day for the bride and groom to make it the most memorable day that they could ever have. And we realize that requires giving of ourselves to do that, and that's what we want to do. That's what our business is about. It isn't just about showing up and hitting a button and playing some music. So,
Jillian,
this is called parenting and running a business with children right now.
Jillian, it's our first show. We're talking about running a business with kids, and you're not doing what we asked you to do. Sierra, take the baby.
Say hi!
Please. Guys, take the baby. Please. We're live right now. This is our first show, okay?
That's okay.
Please.
This is called running a business with kids. Hey, this is called And this is called patience.
Stop it. All right, so
And she took off up the stairs without she should get
all right, so guys, seriously, please, we're live, please.
patience.
I'm not being patient right now. We're trying. This is our first show, okay? All right, so
Patience.
the point is that we're gonna continue to do this. The goal is to do this every Sunday in a little wrap up, like half hour or so, to kind of let you guys know what we're up to, what's going on with the business.
We're involved. We just involved our kids in our business by putting them on the show.
Yeah, right. That was planned. That went well. So with that being said, okay,
Patience.
that brings. I don't have patience when it comes to that. They know
Patience.
better. All right, so
Count to 10 and breathe.
yeah, whatever, Kermit. So supporting cast, parents, sitters, Comay, whatever it is that you use, that's another part of the discussion. You can't run an effective home-based business without having some sort of a supporting cast, whether it be parents nearby, sitters, Comay, whatever it is that you guys use. You have to be able to have that opportunity to work on your own kid-free. As wonderful as the kids are and as nice as it is to incorporate them into things, as you can see, things can very quickly get derailed, okay? So from that standpoint, you have to have a supporting cast. And that brings us from a patient standpoint. How do you handle the deadlines? And that's being able to, if you remember the good old days with the Franklin planners where you put the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s, I literally have started doing that on the whiteboard, okay? Instead of buying a new Franklin planner that, is 20 years old, so we'll put up on the whiteboard and we'll get a picture of it and put it up. Why are you staring at me?
Well, because this is where our disconnection is, because you're the businessman and you're out of the house for your other job, and then you come home and you're not in the soup.
Okay.
When you're in the soup, you actually have to plan a little bit more in advance, which I will be honest with you, I suck at really bad. And you need to plan activities in advance. So like the derailment of the potty coming down the stairs right now is me not setting up something for the toddler to do with the 11-year-old and the 16-year-old. That's something that I need to do in advance. Okay, so here I've laid this out to keep you busy with this and this and this and this. And yes, at 16 and 11, they probably should be able to come up with those things on their own, but toddlers are tricky. They get into stuff and they weigh on you pretty quickly, and they sneak away when you least expect it, or get into something and you turn around and poof, they've got lipstick all over their face. We've had that issue before. But the best way for a mom or dad who's at home to be productive is to plan stuff out for your kids in advance too. Have activities for them to do on the side. You have to have those keep the kids busy, structured things to turn to if you can't find those bits of time. So if your kids are super active and high energy like mine are, because they're like their dad, you need to have stuff that they can get into that won't destroy your house, so you're not regretting that they did it while you were working, because then you look and you question, well, they just destroyed everything I worked on for the past 2 hours, and then I went and I did my stuff for my business, and it's not worth it because now I have to go back and redo that 2 hours of work I just did. So you need to have that structured stuff that they can do semi-quietly maybe while you're working your business. But that's something that falls on you. If you're at home and you're trying to do it with kids, you have to have that pre-planned stuff that you can turn to, and don't have just one activity. Because I can tell you right now, you do the one activity, you think you're golden, and the kid hates it, and then you're out of luck.
Okay, what is your secret? This is a loaded question because I already know the answer as far as what I would give. But how do you manage a full family schedule intertwined with your business?
I don't.
That's what I was going to say. But
I don't. I'll be honest. I will be honest. I don't. I just like I said before, I'm a work in progress. Deadlines have not been my forte. As my husband would tell you, we're late to everything, and it's because of me. And apparently, he thinks it's genetic and it's in my family. What do you say, Lynn?
If Lynn and Ken are still on, it's the Dylan way. And every family.
No, it's called Kathy has to get rid of
What?
this, and Kathy has to get Jillian and get Sierra ready and get Wyatt ready and get Addie ready.
But-
And Scott gets himself ready and Scott's out the door.
But wow,
So
that was blamed. How did they get blamed on me? At the end of the day, okay, there's just certain families that are a certain way. You guys all, if you're watching, know that there's a family that you know that is always late to everything. We're not so much that way anymore because, you and I pull in different directions. And it's some of the biggest fights we've ever had in our marriage.
well, a big issue is when it comes to the kids, I am a bit of a control freak, and he'll say, "Well, what can I do?" And I just know that whatever I need done, he won't do it the way I want it done, so I don't let him do it. So then we don't get to where we need to get to.
That comes down to you wanting like this perfection in terms of the diaper bag.
And it is, and you need to understand perfection is not necessary.
But I could get the diaper bag ready, right, and not have it be exactly the way that you would do it, and it's
Minus
still
the juice.
and it's still going to work fine.
Minus
But
the
it's
eggs.
still going to work fine, and that's where part of this comes down to when it comes to running a home with a family and that small business. It's allowing yourself to accept things that are done as long as they're done, but not necessarily in the way that you would do them,
Well, that
which
it
you
doesn't.
don't.
No, I don't.
do.
It doesn't have to be perfect, and that's where I said I'm a work in progress. I'm learning things don't have to be perfect in order for them to be done. He is very go and deal with what's thrown at you at the moment, and I'm more of no, I don't want to have to redo things down the road, so I want it done right the first time, and that causes a lot of friction between the two of us and a lot of stoppage for me when it comes to me in business.
All right, so talk to the folks about the spaghetti versus the waffle thing.
Oh, I'd rather you handle that one. I'm curious to see what your take is on that.
Well, here's
Or what I've told you your take is.
here what you told me my take is. It's my understanding that men in general
Yes.
are more like waffles.
As far as their brain.
You gonna let me finish or no?
Oh, sorry,
And women are more like spaghetti,
brain function.
where women can handle everything being overlapped and intermingled, and men need it more compartmentalized. And I will say that is me. Like I cannot do. It's not that I can't do two things at the same time. I am just much more effective if I'm only doing one. If I'm doing one thing, I get it done, and then I go to the next thing, from compartment to compartment.
I think, unfortunately, though, as moms, thank you. As moms, a lot of the time you aren't afforded that luxury. It's in the middle of peeling potatoes, and your toddler who's potty training goes, "Mom, I peed, come wipe me." That's kind of the overlappingness there, okay? And it's just kind of a thing of you get this started, and then you get pulled over here to do this, and then you get pulled over here to do this, and you get pulled over here to do this. And so then as a woman, you've got like 5, 6, sometimes 10 things going on at one time. And each thing kind of overlaps the other thing and intertwines around another thing. And all of a sudden you're just in this massive glob of life that's going on. And that's what you see sometimes when you come home. It's this has been started here, and 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 because I got pulled over here, and then you get home and you want me to do something over here. So it's like this constant intertwining weave of noodles and chaos. So versus you're very, I'm sitting at my computer and I'm working on this, and even if I holler to you to do something or I need you for something, this function, this square here has to get done before you'll move on. That's the difference in the spaghetti and the waffles.
I'm cool with that.
I'm not.
I'm gonna be a waffle. That's how I function. That's how I function. I'm a checklist guy, and the way I checklist, right? And again, you all can run your businesses differently, but I want to get something done to completion before I go on to the next activity. I know it doesn't always work that way. We know that, but for me, that's how I'm most effective. All right. So last question, and then we'll sign off for the night. What are our strengths and weaknesses as a company and as a couple?
I don't know if I can list them as a company. I know I can list them as me.
What are some of our strengths and weaknesses as a company? What are we really good at? What do we need to work on?
You go first.
I think that we are one of the better. The reason the name of our company is His and Hers is because we're exactly that. We're a tandem. We're a duo. And in the wedding industry, we're unstoppable. And anybody that's worked with us will attest to that. And from that standpoint, it's I'm really good in this, and this, and you're really good in everything I'm not. So the way when I talk about our business,
It's called balance.
when I talk about our business to people, I always say that I make things loud and fun, and she makes them pretty and stress free. And from that standpoint, that's exactly what we are as a company. I focus on the logistics of a day and all the way the inner workings, how things are going to work, how the flow is going to go, and working with other vendors, and then I execute that. And from a music standpoint, from an introduction standpoint, from a logistics standpoint. On the flip side, while I'm doing that, she's literally taking care of details that people in the real world don't even know are details. Everything. And when I mean everything, I'm talking about minutia. Where the flower goes, where the water vase goes. Should the flowers be tipped? How they should be angled? What they look like on the head table. And then because she's always looking at things from the eye of a photographer, even though she's not a photographer. She's dibbled and dabbled in it, but her whole thing is, what is this going to look like? The aesthetics of the room. Okay. When I go and set up my equipment, it's the first thing we argue about when we walk into a hall is where I'm going to set up and how. And because I know what I need from a logistics standpoint, from a music, from the sound acoustics standpoint. And her whole thing is, well, that sucks. I want you to move. That's not going to look good there. And I'm like, well, this is the only place where I can go. And so, immediately within 30 seconds of us arriving at a hall, we're already disagreeing with each other. So, that's all part of it. So from a strengths and weaknesses standpoint, that's how we counterbalance. As far as our weaknesses, it's taken me 24 years DJing to learn to be humble.
I was actually waiting for a comment from Ken about that one.
From a humility standpoint, I got better at what I did when I started listening to the crowd and putting aside my ego.
And
what?
And
You tell me. I don't know what.
listening to who?
So in other words, you don't know it all, and it's okay to not know it all. Henry Ford lived that entire philosophy. The reason Henry Ford was so successful in business, he had a phone in his room. Remember the old phones that had the bank? It was all push buttons. It was the red push buttons. Remember the red, white push button phones? And there was one or two that were red. They were like emergency numbers, right? But it was a bank of numbers. And Henry Ford went to trial one time, and someone asked, well, how can you tell me that you didn't know what was going on in this department? He said, I have a phone in my office, and it's got 100 buttons on it. Okay? Who's calling? It's got 100 buttons on it, and all on those buttons are people that all work for me because they're smarter. You answer it, not do it.
No, it's the.
They're smarter at things than I am in their given area. And when I want to know something, I push that button, and that's how I find something out. I don't have to know everything. It's not my job to know everything. Well, that's where we are in our business. And we know that we don't know everything respectively. So we kind of defer to each other, and we defer to halls, we defer to vendors, and that helps us to be more successful. Go.
You covered it all.
All right. So,
I mean, the main thing is when you are in the business that we are in, you are there to provide a service. And our service is to make top priority bride and groom happy. Then next priority, their family's happy, and then the rest of the crowd. But in doing that, you also have to build a relationship with whoever else is a vendor there. You need to build your relationship with your photographer, your videographer, your cake person, your hall, if there's a coordinator there. You don't want to step on anybody's toes. But you want to work in conjunction with them to create what is the best day, the best night, the best whatever for this couple. So that is our focus. Our focus is to make it the best thing and to hear from them years later and say, so-and-so still talks about you guys and talks about our wedding and how great it was and how wonderful you guys were and how great it was that you did this or you handled this, or they couldn't believe that your service provided this. You know, when we can do things that are above and beyond and over the top and somebody points that out, that's really great. That makes us feel as though we're actually doing exactly what we were meant to be doing there. So, I don't know. Weaknesses would just be frustrations and being able to bite my tongue when things aren't really kind of the way.
There's a lot of vendors that may watch this. Okay, so
I'm not calling out any vendors because there's not. I mean, there's.
It's not even vendors. It's more halls.
No, there's times that I don't do things. A lot of times I don't do things perfectly.
There's a lot of times where she'll walk into a room, and she gets this look. It's this, and it's the I wouldn't have done it that way, and that's where she has to kind of check her ego and remember that this is that whether or not she was hired in that function. Because if she's not hired in that function, she'd stay. Her tendency is to stay out of it and just to let it be. So even though she would have done it differently. So.
Well, as I trip over words as I'm saying them, it's not so much that I'm really particular in every little thing. It's more of a thing of I take the day and I lay the big picture out like this. Where I incorporate everything, and it's not just the hall, and it's not just the cake, and it's not just the flowers, and it's not just the DJ, and it's everything. And I look at how all of that comes together and works together for that bride and groom for that day. When you have people who are just there for the hall, or they're just there for the cake, or they're just there for the flowers, or they're just there to DJ, that's their focus. So they'll come in and they'll have their blinders on because they're focused on what they were hired for and getting their thing done and making their presentation for their business. Where I look at all the pieces and parts together, and is it all functioning together and working the right way together, and is there something that we could do better to make it a smoother evening, make the night run better, make the aesthetics of the room better, just any of that in general. I'm not there to contradict what someone else has done, but if there's some way to make everything function better for that evening, I will point that out. That's it. I'm not there to ruin anybody's evening. I'm not there to say somebody did something wrong, but if there's a way to make something work better for that evening, as far as room setup, where something's put, how something is laid out, anything like that. And I love to hear when people say, well, what if we did this differently? Or what? And if there's something I did, I want to hear that. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is what's best. So that's it. I guess. That's it.
All right, folks. So this has been our pilot episode of His and Hers Highlights. Like I said, we're going to plan on doing this every Sunday, middle of the day, for a half hour or so after church type deal. Moving forward as we get into our wedding season, and once we do that, we'll have content that's specifically going to be focused on the weekend that we have just experienced, whether it be whether it be a single or a double that we did that weekend, and we'll just kind of discuss what worked, and what didn't work, what we would have done differently, and just kind of a review. But again, when the goal is to share tips and to put us on cam and say, hey, this is His and Hers. Today was just about just kind of running a small business. It was just a generic topic we picked. I don't plan on potting this out. I don't plan on having bumper music or anything fancy like we do with that other show with all those crazy yahoos. But yeah, so that's it. So happy Sunday to everybody. At this point, I'm assuming all your brackets are busted because I can't imagine that there's a perfect bracket anywhere left in America. And that's pretty much it. Is there any special sign off we want to do or anything? How about, let's do this. How about every episode we sign off with a kiss? Come on. Because we're His and Hers.
Dude, that was where you were going.
We're His and Hers.
Nobody wants to see that.
Just got a little kiss. No. We're a love-based company. That's our business. You won't give me a kiss. Just on the cheek. How about on the cheek? That's all. All right. Take care, folks. Good night, everybody.